Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching this in the world. I hope you guys are doing okay. So there's been a lot of backlash surrounding the latest Kombat pack for Mortal Kombat 1. And there's a lot of the fan base coming up with their own ideas of who should be included in Kombat Pack 2, how it should have looked, and so I wanted to throw my picks out there and see how it goes over with you guys. Now, let me just be clear in saying that I am neither right or wrong. This is completely subjective. This is who I would like to see in the game. I'm also basing it off of the current story expansion because we're doing this whole thing with Havoc, so I've taken that into consideration. But if your character does not make this list, please don't take it as me disliking the character, although I can neither confirm nor deny, it depends on the character. But this is just my personal list. I know people in the MK community are very passionate about their characters. I know there are some very notable characters that are missing, and because we're going to frame this around 6 characters, that's all I'm going to be using because that's what the combat packs give us. I'm going to be choosing 5 Mortal Kombat characters and 1 guest character. So I just want to give you guys that disclosure before we go forward. And the reason that I'm narrowing down the guest characters from 3 to 1 is that I think Mortal Kombat characters should be prioritized, and I don't want this game to become a celebrity fighting game, or rather not this game but the franchise as a whole. We all know, or those of you that come back to this channel very often know, that I am no fan of Mortal Kombat 1, but I'm certainly a fan of the franchise. I've grown up with the franchise. I was even a fan of the cheesy movies and the Mortal Kombat Conquest show, which I thought personally was absolutely fantastic. So MK11 and MK1, not really my cup of tea, but historically I have been a Mortal Kombat fan. So with that being said, I am of the personal opinion that a pack of characters should consist almost entirely of franchise originals / mainstays and not outsiders. But that's just me again. Even though our FGC overlord has said to us that we are idiotic, unlovable dumbasses for wanting Mortal Kombat characters in a Mortal Kombat game, I'd like to put the financial aspect of the combat pack aside for 1 second and actually talk about a wish list that actual Mortal Kombat fans might want. So we're going to take off the corporate suit for 1 second. We're going to forget about all of the movie tie-ins minus one that I think would be pretty good in here, and we're just going to imagine a world where Mortal Kombat characters outsold guest characters. Now, just to preface this, if you're wondering why I'm speaking about it, well, I would genuinely be in favor of Mortal Kombat 1 getting better now. It's obviously been through the absolute slop that the year 1 was, but according to a lot of people that I've spoken to, they've given a lot of power back to these characters. There's a lot more things that you can do with the cameos and the characters in general, and so Mortal Kombat could be heading in a good direction. Now, there are still a lot of problems, and that's not me saying that I have absolved Mortal Kombat 1 by any stretch of the imagination, but the hope is that Mortal Kombat 1 now goes on an upward trajectory, no matter how steep or unsteep that might be. And so when we get to Mortal Kombat 2, hopefully NetherRealm has learnt from their mistakes and we enter a new Mortal Kombat game where everybody can be happy. That said, I'll continue to call things how I see it, but that would be my hope. Now, to start with, Noob Saibot will remain in the combat pack. Noob's my personal favourite character to use in Mortal Kombat. He always has been next to Scorpion, and I thought a character as popular as Noob Saibot would have already been on the base roster, but this is the reality we live in, so Noob will remain on there, just so you guys know. So we've got 4 more Mortal Kombat characters to work with. The second character I would choose to return is Hotaru. Hotaru is a really interesting character to me because he's not inherently evil, but he did align himself with Onaga, who we all know is the Dragon King. The reason for this is because Onaga was known for preserving order amongst the realms, so he would basically team up with whoever is going to give him and his realm the best chance of order, which makes sense since he's from the Order realm. He kind of reminds me of Akainu a little bit in his line of thinking. Akainu in One Piece to many people is seen as a villain, but if you really look at the character, he is devoted to looking for the best route to justice, or his idea of justice. And so I wouldn't say that Akainu is an inherently evil character, nor would I say is Hotaru. I think they are interesting characters that could add a lot to the story in Mortal Kombat, and also have interesting methods of fighting that can be explored by the development team. Am I here advocating for Akainu to be a guest in Mortal Kombat? Anyway, let's not go down that road. Also, he was originally out for Havoc's neck. One of Havoc's main enemies, if not his main enemy, was Hotaru, so it would be cool to see something similar explored here. I know this is a new timeline, but there are some old storylines that didn't really get fleshed out in the old timeline, and I think they have a chance to do something with Hotaru here. He was a pretty cool design in my opinion, and I'd be interested to see how he's portrayed with the current NRS direction. The third character I would add to this is Onaga, the Dragon King. Going hand in hand with my Hotaru pick, the Dragon King could serve as a powerful foe against the chaos that Havoc is causing in the new story. Since there's a multiverse, there's no reason that the most powerful version of Onaga can't be pulled into the conflict to hopefully be one of the necessary evils to stop this whole multiverse of madness situation and return order to the realms and hopefully close off the multiverse storyline. I've been told by a few people that Onaga is actually mentioned in Mortal Kombat 1 and loses to Reiko, and according to many people I've spoken to, the Mortal Kombat 1 arcade endings are canon, so that's not a good sign, and that's why I'm saying pull in another Onaga. If we're going to do this whole multiverse thing, we might as well get as much from it as possible before we close it off completely. It'd also just be a really cool character to use considering how large he is and how much you could experiment with his moveset, since it was pretty simple in the 3D games. The fourth character I'd add to this is Scarlet. Scarlet is one of my favorite female characters in the Mortal Kombat universe. Scarlet's entire premise seems chaotic to me, and since she was a warrior originally created by Shao Kahn, you could adapt that original story and have her fight alongside the general during his rise to power. I can imagine General Kahn is going to be up to no good during this conflict, and a good way to accelerate his rise to power would to have a blood ninja on his team. Also, just from a gameplay perspective, again, there's a lot you can do with someone that manipulates blood to fight, so I would put Scarlet in the combat pack. The fifth and final MK character I'd add to the pack is Erron Black. A ruthless cowboy in the Mortal Kombat universe sounds very cool to me, and of the NRS era, he's one of the better designs. He could act as a snake slash double agent during this chaotic conflict and keep the players guessing on where the story is going to go and what his motivations are. I also just found him to be one of the more interesting characters to watch in Mortal Kombat 10, and definitely more on the fun side to use. So I'd love to see Erron Black come back into the fold. I wouldn't even mind a redesign or some new attributes added to him, but I like the idea of a cowboy in the Mortal Kombat universe. Now then, onto the very much controversial topic of guest characters. Now, I am not against guest characters, but there's a limit to things. I think 2 guest characters in a season pack is too much. When they announced Terry and Mai, my initial reaction was, oh my god, Terry and Mai are in a Street Fighter game, but when I actually sit back and look at the situation, I think Terry would have been enough. Considering they're only dropping 4 characters, one of them is already released, which is Bison, which is an excellent pick. I think Mai takes up a slot that should have gone to a Street Fighter character. Now, if you're asking me personally who I would have put there, now that I've got my main back and I'm not going to be selfish about it, I would say Dudley. I think Dudley is really missed by the Street Fighter community, and when I used to tune into Street Fighter 4 matches, I would always look for Smug's matches because Dudley was so much fun to watch. So if they're able to adapt the Street Fighter 4 version of Dudley, because I personally found him to be more entertaining than the Street Fighter 3 one, I know, hot take, that's just me personally, I think that would be a lot of fun. But Street Fighter aside, the point is that I think in a combat pack, the characters that originate from the franchise need to make up the bulk of the combat pack. They certainly shouldn't be half and half. Now, I'm well aware that guest characters probably do draw in more eyes, they probably do make more money. Obviously, if you're going to put a John Wick, for example, in Mortal Kombat, then of course people are going to go, oh my god, John Wick is in Mortal Kombat. Mortal Kombat's already a very high selling franchise. I think we all know John Wick is going to sell more than a conventional Mortal Kombat character. But I would only have one because I want to keep the integrity of the roster and make my core fan base happy. It's not like Mortal Kombat doesn't already sell better than every other fighting game. That said, I fully acknowledge that guest characters will outsell the MK originals. But if we follow that train of thought, then why not 4 guest characters? Why not 5? Why not just do a whole pack of guest characters if the whole premise is financial gain? So nobody here is saying that guest characters don't sell more, just to get that out of the way. We're just saying in an ideal world, we would rather have Mortal Kombat characters. Now, moving on to the guest pick, because as I said, I don't have a problem with guests. My guest pick would be Imhotep from the Mummy series, the Brendan Fraser Mummy series. Imhotep to me was always one of the coolest on-screen villains, and the Mummy films are some of my personal favourite. I've always wanted to see Imhotep represented in a fighting game, and I always thought Mortal Kombat was the perfect place for him. He has so many abilities that he demonstrates in the films, and he can also summon an army of undead warriors as we see in the films. He's also just a very cool design overall. Now, Arnold Vosloo is the guy that played Imhotep in the Brendan Fraser films, and I think it would be really cool to get his likeness and put it in the game. Now, these films are from 1999 and 2001, so they're a little bit newer than some of the guest characters that we are receiving, but there are still going to be a lot of people that may not know who Imhotep is. Now, if you're new to my channel, or if you don't know who Imhotep is, I would highly recommend you go and watch The Mummy and The Mummy Returns from 1999 and 2001. 2001. They are, to this day, some of the best action films ever made, and certainly the best installments in the long-running Mummy franchise. So those would be my characters for the Kombat pack. We've got Noob Saibot, who is already there. I think that's a fine pick, although I would remove the green and put the purple in. I don't think the green fits very well, but maybe it has some story implications. We have Hotaru, who adds to the story because he is order where there is chaos. We have Onaga because a lot of people have been asking for him, and he ties into Hotaru and could really push the story in an interesting direction. We have Scarlet because she is one of the coolest female characters, and a blood ninja is very unique. And then we have Aaron Black because I like cowboys, and I'm just being biased, I guess. Maybe you guys don't agree. Now then, that's not where I want to end the video, because the Kombat Pack 2 is absurdly priced. I don't think anybody in their right mind thinks that this has been priced fairly. Now I know people are going to buy it, and I'm not shitting on people for doing that. I know Mortal Kombat is held very near and dear to a lot of people. It used to be for me, so I completely understand why people want to invest and they want to try out the story expansion and try out the new characters. That being said, I can't get behind the price tag, and it's the reason why I'm not going to be purchasing it, and I'll just be watching the story play out on YouTube and hoping for the best for it. I honestly do. I think that if they bring this out, I hope they fix a lot of glitches and they balance the game well and people have fun on it. That being said, if you're going to charge that amount, you need to look at what has worked in Kombat Pack 1 and also include that in Kombat Pack 2, and also include some things that people have been asking for over and over again. Firstly, one thing I've noticed about Mortal Kombat 1 in recent times is since they have released the retro costumes from the original Mortal Kombat film for Scorpion and Sub-Zero, I have not seen Scorpion and Sub-Zero dressed in their original attire since. Everybody seems to love these costumes, myself included. When I look at them on the screen, I'm like, yes, that is Mortal Kombat. That is the Mortal Kombat that I remember. That is the Mortal Kombat that I love. And people seem to love them as well. So give people more of these costumes. People like these versions of the Mortal Kombat characters. Give people more retro costumes. Add those into the Kombat Pack. Justify the price that you're charging people. And for a cherry on top, if you want to go one step further, some people still like to consider Mortal Kombat one of the big three. It's certainly the biggest fighting game in the world, but in the FGC I think it's lost a lot of favor with people. One way that you can really help change the perspective of this game is look at what Street Fighter and Tekken have done with their classic music. Tekken gives you all the music for free. Street Fighter did implement a system similar, however they do charge you for it, so I'm not really going to indulge in that. But you could go one step further and you can match Tekken and you can include a jukebox. Just dump your best music into the game, and that includes the music from the movies and from the TV series. The Mortal Kombat Conquest opening, for example, whenever I hear that theme, I'm like, yes, that is Mortal Kombat. Obviously, we have the original theme from the original film, which is iconic and everybody loves, and it's a given that that should be in the jukebox. But there's so much good music surrounding Mortal Kombat that we haven't had for a very long time. If you're going to charge that amount for a Kombat Pack, you need to give people value for money. So I think more retro costumes, a jukebox, and general bug fixes and balance changes that make sense are a given. Now I've given you guys what I would like from the Kombat Pack, and the reason I'm giving you this again is because I want to see Mortal Kombat go in a better direction, so hopefully when we get to the next game, it's in a much better place and we can all have a good time together. But let me know what you guys think. Let me know who you would put in the Kombat Pack. Do you think the characters that I've chosen are shit? Are you happy with the current Kombat Pack? Are you completely against guest characters? Let me know in the comment section below. Anyways guys, take care of yourselves, have a good day, and peace.